brand new unit. We're going to take a look at ratios, rates, and unit rates today. But we're going to break it down into 3 lessons. So let's just focus on ratios, okay? After today's lesson, you should be able to define what a ratio is, and you should be able to write a ratio down on your paper anytime that you're asked to. So here we go. What is a ratio? It's pretty simple. We're going to compare 2 different quantities, or another way of saying it is 2 different numbers, using division. And if you remember, we can use fractions to write a division problem, like 2 divided by 3. So let's go down here, and let's look at that. There we go. 2 divided by 3, see? Or 2/3. That's a ratio. We're comparing 2 different numbers, and it's using division. But there's 2 other ways that you can write this. You can read this as a ratio of saying 2 to 3 and write it like a fraction, or you can literally write on your paper 2 to 3. And then the other way is just write your top number or the first number and then your third number on the other side of a colon right there. So it's very, very easy. Now, what on earth do we want to use these ratios for? Well, ratios by themselves are not super helpful in a lot of things. However, when we're talking about real life situations, we usually assign labels and units to these numbers. And we're going to be learning about that when we learn about rates in the next lesson, and especially in unit rates. Um, it will make a lot more sense then, and we're not going to take a long time on that part. But basically, it's a fantastic learning tool to learn about the relationship between the 2 numbers, where there's 2 here and there's 3 there. And so if we kept changing this ratio into bigger forms, like, well, if we were looking at a ratio of 4 to 6, couldn't we simplify that down to a more basic relationship of 2 to 3? And it's the exact same idea of simplifying a fraction. So that's bringing in some old knowledge there, but again, it doesn't make a lot of sense until we get to the rates probably. Moving on though, the fraction style is the most important format that you'll use. You'll use that more mathematically, but at the same time, at different times you'll be asked to literally write a ratio in 3 different ways, or to perhaps just take a given ratio and write it in 2 other ways. So if they gave you this one right here, could you write it as the fraction form and the colon form over here? So you'll need to be familiar with all 3 ways on that. And let's review what the definition was again. What is a ratio? It's just a comparison of 2 different quantities. And when you see this right here, you might even want to put in the little number signs. That way you go, oh yeah, that just means numbers. And here's our 2 numbers. All right. All right, let's make our way on down into this lesson. Write the ratio from the given conditions. So sometimes you're going to get some sort of sentence like this. There are 10 blue cars and 7 red cars. Write as a ratio, see that term ratio again, of blue cars to red cars 3 different ways. Well, that's actually not difficult to do. Um, let's see, we said the first way that we could do it was write it as a fraction. And let's see, it says write as a blue car. So how many blue cars do we have? 10. So we'll just put a 10 there. And it says 2 red cars. 3 different ways. How many red cars do we have? 7 red cars. So we'll put 7 on the bottom. That was our second number that they're wanting, because they told us the order. They said blue cars to red cars. See that 2 right there? They're telling you how they want you to order your ratio. So you do that. 10 blue cars to 7 red cars. How can I write that in another way? How about 10 to 7? So there's the second way. And how about the third way? There we go. That's it. That's all you have to do. Make sure you read these very carefully though, because sometimes they'll tell you the exact order they want. If they had said red cars to blue cars, I just would have flipped the 7 on top and the 10 on the bottom. And same thing, I just would have flipped signs with all of those. Make sure you read everything. And so speaking of read everything, how about I just pause the video, or let you pause the video. See if you can read these directions and answer these 3 problems, and then hit play when you're ready. Okay, so the first thing I see is they say write the ratios as a fraction. So there we go, wrote it as a fraction. I'm done, right? Nope, it said in simplest form. Well, it looks like a fraction, so it simplifies like a fraction. Divide top and bottom by 25, and you get 1/3. There's the answer they're looking for, not this one. You'd either get no credit or half credit, so remember, that's what it means when it says read everything. That includes directions. This one, 3 comes first, so that goes on top. 2 goes on the bottom. Can't simplify that, so we're ready to go. And same thing here, 32 comes first, so that goes on top. 8 goes on the bottom. But this does simplify. Now, yes, that does simplify to 4, because 32 divided by 8 is 4. Yes, we can easily make that into a fraction by putting a 1 over it if we wanted to do it as a fraction, but I would say this. See, a ratio, by definition, has how many quantities? 2. That means 2 numbers. If I just put a 4 right here, that's not 2 numbers. That's not a ratio. That's just a mistake, because we want to write it as a fraction and keep it in simplest form. So just divide it both by 8 and just deal with the numbers that you have. See this? This is actually exactly what we want right there, because that is the most simplified form. 4 over 1. It is the same thing as 4, but they want it as a fraction, so don't mess around with these ratios. Just do exactly what they tell you without overthinking it.